I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. And today, well, this is our fourth live stream, so if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect opportunity.
Yep, it should only be getting better and better.
Well, today we're going to talk Taylor Swift,
Trump's tax policies and like how they're going to differ from, I guess, what he had before. And also Mexico's judicial reform, which has finally passed. And a lot of people don't know about it outside of Mexico, but it is a pretty big deal.
I would like to hype Trump's tax policies. They're absolutely phenomenal. But let's get into Taylor Swift first.
Yes, so the childless cat lady has finally endorsed Kamala Harris. And while this might mean that there's finally been a stop to the whole debate between, does she like Trump? Can Swifties like Trump or only Kamala? Well, now she's decided that only Kamala for her.
Well, the way I see it, everybody's abandoning Hollywood en masse. You're seeing movie after movie after movie tank. People are moving away from stars. Alternative media is really coming up. YouTube's becoming big. Alternative politics. This is the emergence of Trump. What I'm going to say is it's not going to have much of an impact at all. A matter of fact, I'm going to think it has a reverse impact. I'm seeing a ton of regular people, regular mothers, regular daughters post videos actually supporting Trump and just saying they're not following Taylor Swift into politics, which I think is really the emergence of true populism amongst the people, moving away from stars telling you who to vote and listening to regular people and their reasons why.
Yeah, and I think the whole debate between who do celebrities endorse, well, we know because like other content creators have spoken to bigger celebrities and they always say like these bigger celebrities like Trump, but they just can't admit it because they'll be out of a job.
Well, I seen Usher on The View today. I seen it
Both those things are...
Well, I seen it a clip of it from YouTube. But Usher said the perfect thing. They tried to get him to, they baited him into like talking shit on Trump and he wouldn't do it. He said voting is a private matter. He said he endorsed Kamala. Obviously he has to. He's connected with Puffy and a bunch of other scandals. So they're blackmailing him into supporting Kamala. But to go a step further and really talk crap about Trump, he refused to do it. He said voting was a private matter between yourself and yourself. And a lot of other stars are coming out with the same thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think they want to openly endorse Trump because they're scared of the consequences, but they're not going as far as to hang Trump out to dry, which is actually helping them in a tremendous way.
Yeah, and there's been a few that have actually come out even before like this full election cycle started, like Kevin Sorbo, like Dennis Quaid. And I mean, I'm from Mexico, so we have a very different voting culture. Here, the whole phrase is that the vote is free and secret, that you should never be coerced or endorse anyone if you don't want to, but there's less of a culture of endorsements, even within celebrities. Only within the last few years, we've seen content creators and celebrities kind of come out and endorse certain political parties, but I think it's good to talk about who you support and why, if you're a bigger person, like a bigger celebrity, a bigger influencer. But also, if you don't want to talk about it, you shouldn't be baited into it because not anymore. But people like influential celebrities used to be able to really sway public opinion.
Well, I think the Trump camp was ready for this the entire time. You've seen in the news cycle, they kept putting statements out about Taylor Swift for the past year. They were expecting the endorsement to come. I think they were prepared for the endorsement. And when we get into Trump's tax policies and his game plan going forward, I don't think she's going to be a factor at all. Would you want to get into Trump's tax policies now, or
Sure.
Or do you have anything left with Taylor?
Well, again, I think celebrities are, as you say, no longer very influential. And she is this elite billionaire who travels around the world in her private jet. She's already gotten in trouble for her whole emissions scandal with the left, and yet they're still willing to kind of highlight that in the mainstream media. But I think a lot of like Taylor Swift supporters are starting to say like, I might like her music, but I don't have to like her political positions.
Well, I say she has a sad life when you compare her to other celebrities. Yes, she has $1 billion and she can have anything she wants. But when you compare her to another celebrity that has the same thing, basically two people on equal footing, what she lacks is, a real life. She doesn't have any children. She is a lonely cat lady, and she's trying to embrace it, but she's becoming the meme. Anyway.
And even with her whole relationship, I mean, there's come out, it hasn't been verified, but they have a whole plan and a whole NDA about their relationship with Travis Kelce. And I had said before and thought about that she was the bigger person when talking about the friend, Brittany Mahomes, that she was still engaging with, even though Brittany Mahomes had supported Trump. But now I think because of that, she was also kind of forced into giving her support for Kamala after Kamala did well in the debate. They were waiting for that moment.
Well, let's get into Trump's tax policies, and these things are absolutely amazing. You're hearing the left just have cope. They're talking about he wants tax break for the rich. Well, he wants no taxes on tips. He wants no taxes on Social Security, and he wants no taxes on any overtime hours worked. This is not for the rich. This is for the poor and the middle class, and this is going to absolutely secure his vote. And the thing is, he's not offering these up as ways to get votes. This was always his plan, because if he was offering these things, he has to replace that tax bracket from somewhere else. And where he's planning to replace it from is tariffs. That this is goods coming in and out of the country. He can actually generate more taxes on tariffs by taxing governments than he can his own citizens. So I think this really appeals to your average citizen, because taxing of the average citizen is just, you're giving your money to the government, they're putting a bunch of money in their pocket and then giving you a little bit back in services. Well, tax the other governments of the world and stop taxing the citizens themselves.
Mm-hmm. And while people say that this might, stop imports and exports within the country, it could also bring in the manufacturing base. And that is what a lot of Americans are kind of missing and lacking, and what destroyed a lot of cities. I'm thinking Detroit, I'm thinking Chicago, with the auto industry leaving, not just for Mexico, but also for China. And yes, while this might impact a lot of the other countries, I mean, I think countries themselves should have the ability to generate their own revenue. And then if it's not coming from within that country, then it can be taxed, because it's bringing in goods that were not, made by the people for the people.
Well, if you don't know how the United States was founded, it was founded in a revolution, and a big part of that revolution was taxes. They wanted no taxes. On the founding of America, there was no personal income tax. Mm-hmm. The way they were able to sneak it in was during the World Wars. They said, we're going to tax just the 1%, just the most rich. And next thing you know, they expanded it and expanded it and they expanded it. And if you're living in Mexico, you should really listen to this. I mean, right now, they're taxing the rich. Eventually, 40% of the economy in Mexico are businesses that aren't licensed, that aren't taxed. The government's going to want to legitimize these businesses so they can start taxing them. You normalize taxation through the rich before you expand it to everybody. And then the government's the one lining their pockets in the end. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this. Trump on September 18th, I believe, he has the right to sell his stocks in Truth Social. Mm-hmm. This was a big way for Trump supporters to fund the Trump campaign without donating directly. They just bought Truth Social stock. Trump's expected to cash out on the 18th or 19th. And at one point, he had $1 billion worth of stock assets. Mm-hmm. Now, it might have went down a little bit, but we're still talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion. And so if he cashes out on the 18th, he'll probably get access to those funds around October 1st. That's 30 days. 30 days to the election, and he's going to have almost $1 billion. What he's going to be able to do with that, I don't think Taylor Swift's going to have much of anything to say. Yeah.
But I mean, what would you say, for example, to people that say, well, if like regular people are not taxed, especially the rich, then where do all these social services and social help comes from?
This is actually Trump's, the way Trump's trying to form the tax policy is actually traditional liberal talking points and libertarian talking points. Taxation is theft, especially when it's on an individual's personal income tax. Now, they can justify it by saying we're only taxing the rich. and everybody hates the rich, so it's easy to tax the rich. But eventually they expand it out. And if you're able to isolate one class of people, whether people like them or don't like them, you're able to isolate any class of person you want and then give benefits to your friends. We see this happening in Mexico right now. He's offering older people and students a lot of money.
And young people just in general, yeah.
AMLO's trying to buy votes.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to say is you have to be able to replace that tax base with something else. Now, it doesn't work for every country, but the United States is one of the biggest consumer countries in the world, meaning they buy a lot of products. Yeah. So Trump's planning to put tariffs on all products coming into the country. He's simultaneously going to shut the border down, which is going to help increase manufacturing within the country. Because anybody that owns a manufacturing company within the United States isn't going to have to pay those tariffs. So they're going to have a huge benefit. Also, minimum wage will go way up. And because you're putting a tariff on any incoming products, you can afford to pay people within the country a whole lot more.
And I think this is a good example of where people get the word populism wrong. So a lot of people in Mexico call AMLO, the current president, populist because he wants to gain the votes of people by essentially paying them off and giving them free things, even though nothing in life is free. And of course, where does the money come from? Well, that's a whole other conversation. But with Trump, the populism that Trump and the right want to do is essentially help the people, and the people ask the people what they want and make policies for the people rather than for the government.
Without taking money from the people. Yeah. Because once Trump only has the ability...
But not giving the people money directly either.
Trump only has the ability to make policy. And what he's saying is the government's going to take their hand out of the people's pockets. No more income tax. Mm-hmm. Things like this. This is important because he's saying we're going to tax other governments. There's still going to be government corruption. The money's going to come in and it's going to disappear. But at least it's the citizens of the country. Their money's not going to disappear because it stays in their pocket the whole time. Yeah. So,
well, there's still going to be some taxes.
There's still going to be taxes, yes.
The bureaucracy and the way the system works is
it's going to take time. But this starts the conversation about, is taxation theft when it comes to individual citizens and their earnings? Should we only be taxing medium to large businesses and foreign governments? This is a policy where if Trump is able to pass this, this is going to spread like wildfire. This is going to burn down a lot of liberal parties around the world because they're loving taxation of the rich.
Mm-hmm. Well, of everybody.
Yeah.
But as you said, they start with the rich and then it kind of trickles down. And the excuse is, well, we need all these like goods and services that help the people and all these social programs and free healthcare. And we see how that worked out in Canada. I mean, I was being taxed 20% on everything just in total with all the provincial taxes and the federal taxes. And you can never see a doctor. You can never, if you break your leg, you have to sit there and wait for the person that's even sicker than you.
Well, you do need services, but tariffs are enough to bring in that. And taxing medium to large businesses also are. But I am going to say this. I was always for taxing the rich. And then I started looking into it. And I'm really not for it anymore. You can't make these people an other class, especially when you need the rich the most. Why do you need the rich the most? Because we're not talking about old rich money. Once the money's been in the family for a long time, it's no longer taxed. It's only new money is taxed. People that are making new money, and a lot of it through their business or however they're making it, are the people that know how to make money the best. So by the government saying we want to take money here and give loans to the poor people who actually don't know how to run businesses that well, the government puts money in their own pocket. What they should do is the government should take themselves out of the equation, give tax incentives to the rich, saying give loans to the poor and you'll own a percentage of that business.
And I mean,
and then you'll advise that business.
And that is a more idealistic capitalist system, which is what the US and a lot of other countries are supposed to be, but relying so heavily on the other way of doing it, like Canada, just ends up bloating the government and also giving the government a lot more control because they're the ones controlling all of the pocketbook, not just some of it.
Once the government gets the tax, they never take it back. So I'm going to be very interested to see if Trump can take it back. But let's now move into the judiciary.
Yes. So in Mexico, there was this plan by AMLO, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, who is the current president, that before he left, he wants to try to take even more power. So the way he decided to do it was first trying to change the Constitution. Then he realized that that wasn't really going to work out. So he decided to change the way that judges and the Supreme Court function and are brought into the country. Now he wants all the judges and all of the local and state and federal judges to be voted on rather than, merit-based hiring and merit-based having to go through a whole judicial career and have the experience to do so. And unfortunately, a few days ago, it actually passed. So next year, we're going to be actually electing our judges, and there's going to be judges doing campaigns. And where is this campaign money going to come from? Who knows? How much influence are other people going to have over the judiciary, and how many benefits are some people going to be receiving?
Well, they were able to pass this thing. So now we're looking at a new paradigm of how these judges are going to be elected. What the people need to realize, there was a huge movement to stop this. What they need to realize is, just like when Trump said the election was stolen, and then people that were against AMLO are saying the election is stolen. You can't say that, and you can't look at it that way. You got to move forward and make a game plan. Mm-hmm. So this big movement that's been formed to kind of resist this judiciary that lost really needs to start making a game plan and don't get caught up in whining and complaining. The thing is, what's going to happen now, AMLO was ready for this. He's able to consolidate power, and I guarantee you, because he's the one that made the game plan to consolidate power, he's got a game plan of how to get people elected. Mm-hmm. Well, these other parties are going to be kind of lost and grasping at straws here. So I fully expect AMLO to consolidate power. Also, I'm going to say this. The only person that's going to beat, or party that's going to beat Morena is Morena. What I mean is, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of bad policies. Mm-hmm. I totally see Sheinbaum going hard left into green energy, into crazy feminism, crazy leftist policies. Yep. And you have to wait for these repercussions to add up so the societal impact is really felt. And I think that's going to take more than 6 years. I think if they lose in 6 years, it's really luck, and it's not going to be a permanent movement. I hope the conservative movement realizes this, and I hope they form a real movement, and they're looking at, a decade. Moreno, I see, is going to be in power for a decade, and there's going to have to be a real huge backlash. This happened with Justin Trudeau. Mm-hmm. It took almost 10 years to get him out of power. Well,
he's still in power.
But when the vote's coming up, it's like a super majority of Canada that want him out. Yeah. They're almost on the verge of revolution there. They shut down the borders with the trucker protests and everything else. Mm-hmm. I see the same thing. It's just starting here. So AMLO and Morena's worst enemy is themselves. If they make bad policy, it's going to start adding up over time. Right now, they haven't made enough mistakes to get him out of power, I don't think. But that's just me.
Yeah, and I mean, it shouldn't just be like the conservative movement because what has happened with the opposition here, which is all the other parties that are not Morena, is trying to take very similar policies to Morena, but just tell the people we're different.
Okay, well, this is why I say
and there's no real conservative movement or populist movement or any kind of movement in Mexico, because they haven't let it flourish, because everybody's terrified of the right in Latin American countries. They're scared to say that they're right-leaning or even conservative.
I don't know, Argentina, and then also...
Yeah, it's starting. It's starting,
yeah.
But I do agree that, Morena will have to make, and will make, a lot of mistakes, especially when they start to introduce policies and things about, gender or gender ideology or ecological help and all of the green stuff that we know Claudia Sheinbaum likes, because she essentially studied that.
What I am saying is
the thing that the opposition and conservatives or whatever you want to call yourselves, what you have to do is highlight those things when they start coming up and
I disagree.
Just highlight them.
Because I disagree. If people I think the parties that currently exist are all left parties. Even the current conservative parties are very left ideologically. Yeah. And what's going to happen, Morena's going to make mistake after mistake after mistake, and these are going to be left-wing mistakes. Mm-hmm. And the backlash is going to build and build and build, and it's going to be a huge movement. But the people aren't going to be looking for another left party that's talking about, I'm going to do leftism differently, or I'm going to do socialism differently. They're going to be looking for a strong populist conservative movement with disenfranchised libertarians, liberals, and a moral base of conservatism.
But what I was saying was that we need to start talking about all of these mistakes, not as a party, not as a movement, but as individuals, because more and more people that you talk on the street or that you just mention things to will also disagree with them, but might support Morena, but are not either aware or really realize the implications of some of these things. If they start going for all the gender ideology stuff, like full on, or they start going for the environmental policies full on that will not help the people, if you start implanting into people's heads or like just talking and making them consider what the long-term implications of this would be, and we know because a lot of Western countries have already gone through it, well then that's at least kind of building a movement, but not a movement with TM. Like it shouldn't be a new party. It shouldn't be the new conservative movement TM. It should just be people talking to other people.
I think the strategy is simple. There's all kinds of parties that exist within Mexico right now. They're all gonna attack Morena. Mm-hmm. They're all gonna attack them. Let them all attack them, and then Morena's gonna fight back. And they're going to go back and forth like little children. And then the conservative movement can invite libertarians and a formal disenfranchised liberals and people that are disenfranchised with these children over here into their movement. They don't have a real party yet.
Yeah.
Stay out of the politics.
But that's what I'm saying. There shouldn't be this big effort to make a new party right now.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, let them fight. There's enough parties that are going to point out what Morena is doing. Mm-hmm. The conservatives really need to formulate new ideas and put forward how like taxation is going to work other than, steal from the rich and give to the poor. Maybe we start taxing other governments. Maybe the government gets their hands out of people's pockets. You come up with new ideas, new strategies, how things are going to work.
Talking points.
This is going to be a new vision.
Yeah.
And now I'm just going crazy, but...
Yeah, well, and again, I think Eduardo Verastegui's efforts are very valid and they're very good. But number one, it can't just be him. And number two, trying to form a party is just directing people from here to there without really, consolidating ideologically what you want to say and what you want to do. So we need a little bit more time and a little bit less parties, because just focusing people to one or the other doesn't really do much help to anyone if you're not creating real change.
Well, I will say this. We talked a lot of politics. It got pretty intense today. I was hoping to be a little bit more relaxed on camera. We'll end it off with this. And because we're talking about a movement and a conservative movement and what kind of needs to happen.
And new conservative.
A party's not what needs to happen right now. What needs to happen are people need to pick up their cell phones and start doing on-the-ground journalism. They need to start getting in front of a camera, posting on YouTube, not being scared, standing up for their beliefs. So all these different beliefs of people that don't really have a party, we'll debate and we'll talk and we'll come up with the best policies amongst the people.
But without the focus being, let's create a party. How can I join a party? No, just... don't be afraid to expose your ideas to other people, because you'll find that there's a lot more common ground than you think, even with Morena supporters, even with, the other parties.
When a party is formed, it's the intellectuals and the elites that are going to form the ideas, and they think they know best for the people. What happened in the United States and what's happening in Canada is the people got together through social media, and they began to have debates. And the best ideas were all adopted in the States by the Conservative Party. That's why the MAGA movement is separate from the traditional conservative movement. The same thing needs to happen here. So if you have a cell phone, use it. Go on the street, do some journalism.
Or not even on the street.
Videotape yourself in your house, your thoughts and ideas.
Or just comment and just, engage with other people. Or face-to-face. Don't be afraid to sometimes expose the out there ideas you have, because a lot of people might actually agree or help you build a better notion and critically think about things, because keeping them to yourself does nobody no good.
We suck on camera, as you can see. So if we can do it, you can do it. We're starting to get a little bit of a following. If you can like and subscribe, that would be great.
Yes.
But I also do want to say, just do it. If you're thinking about doing it, Just do it. It only gets better with time. You can look back on our very first YouTube video, and we were too scared to even be on camera. So we went to the border during the Canadian trucker protest, and we started filming and started talking about it because we didn't know what to do. Then we started talking about vaccine mandates and trying to fight back. We tried to push back as much as we could. We got better over time. We're still not good, but that's how we started. And I would love to see some people in Mexico start out doing something
because
too.
I see a lot of people asking in the comments like, oh, what should we do? How can we join a party? Don't join a party. Just start talking to people and start, your ideas matter too. It's not just about, Eduardo Verástegui. It's not just about what AMLO is saying.
The party's
it's
not
about what the people think.
I'll put it in a simple slogan. What was I going to say now?
Something the party.
The party's not the movement. The people are the movement.
Yeah.
And the people have to stand up and voice their opinions and their ideas. It's not about yelling at a protest and saying, stop this. It's actually about, what do we really want with this country? How do we really stop this corruption? Let's talk about it.
Coming up with the idea. It's not waiting for somebody to come up with them for you. There we go.
Okay, well, I'll try to relax on the next podcast.
No, we're just rambling.
I promised 11 o'clock today, and we didn't start till 1. Somebody slept in again.
I did not sleep in.
Anyway, have a good day. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.
Yes. Have an excellent